Hello, my name is Jill Bearup. You're watching a Princess Bride fight analysis. Prepare to learn something about why Inigo versus Count Rugen is such a topsy-turvy, curly-whirly, crazy kind of sword fight. Hopefully. A few months ago I brought you the Cliffs of Insanity duel, and for Christmas I bring you the gift of the more savage arc in the Princess Bride. Spoilers. If you haven't seen my video about the Cliffs of Insanity fight, then you might want to watch that first because we're not really gonna go into depth on that here. To explain Inigo's final fight, we need to explain his arc. And yes, we are now trying to pronounce his name correctly as opposed to the way that it's spelled in the book. Spanish has the most consistent way of pronouncing things in the world. I thought I was doing really well, but no, that's not even how you spell it. We learned before the Cliffs of Insanity duel that when he was 11, Inigo's swordmaker father was killed in front of him by the Six-Fingered Man, who was basically trying to swindle him. The Six-Fingered Man is later revealed to be Count Rugen, Prince Humperdinck's right-hand man. Little Inigo challenged Rugen to a duel, was given 2 facial scars for his trouble, and spent the rest of his life studying fencing and searching for the Six-Fingered Man to avenge his father's death. But 20 years is a long time and a man has to eat, and indeed drink himself into a despairing stupor. Hence working for Vicini, hence being ordered to kill the man in black. At least, that was the plan. The Cliffs of Insanity duel is, as I previously discussed, a triumph of style and substance, giving us character information and exposition, setting up for later, and generally also just being a swashbucklingly good time. These are 2 men at or near the height of their fighting prowess, and the thrill they experience fighting each other transfers to us as the audience. Wesley's win feels earned, but it also feels a little bit inevitable. He has to win, because true love, and even a wizard will grow rusty if he becomes an alcoholic and doesn't practice very much. Not that kind of wizard. Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up. Inigo in the book isn't just a master swordsman, he is above that. He is a wizard swordsman. He's just so good you think it's magic. But he hasn't really been training so hard recently, and alcohol isn't much of a performance enhancer, and he's fighting for the thrill of it, and because Vicini told him to, and what's that, thematically speaking, when compared to true love? In the book, we're told that he's better on the rocky terrain, but once they get out into the open, the man in black is just a shade better at everything, and they're done. This isn't exactly what happens in the screenplay, but who cares because it's such a fun fight. Also, in the book, this all takes place at night, whereas in the film, it takes place at sunrise. Which is much nicer because it means that you can actually see what's going on. Inigo versus Count Rugen takes place after dark, but we're indoors and so it's well lit, there are torches and things. When Inigo loses to Wesley, and yes it is Wesley, not Wesley, check the book, he doesn't lose his purpose, but he loses hope. And so he returns to the Thieves' Forest / Thieves' Quarter in the book, gets drunk and waits for Vicini. He's found instead by Fezzik, who nurses him back to something resembling sobriety, if not health. So here's a confession for you. Normally I'm a book over movie person, almost exclusively, but for The Princess Bride it's the exact opposite. There are several passages in the book which I really like and kind of wish had made it into the film, but generally, I think that's especially true because the framing device in the film with the grandfather and the sick grandson seems sweet and sentimental in a good way and vaguely nostalgic, whereas in the book, I just kind of feel like I'm being lied to. I know that fiction is made up, okay, but this feels uncomfortably like an author inserting themselves in an RPF kind of way into their story, and it's just uncomfortable. Inigo's life to this point has been one of suffering hammered into purpose. And with that purpose, the eventual sure and certain knowledge that he is the best and no one can beat him. Until someone does. And it's in this state of loss that we pick up with him again, and his reaction to that is part of what sells him as a sympathetic character. Because when he's told that Rugen is alive, that he's in the castle, that vengeance is at long last within his grasp, he passes out. But after that, he assesses the situation. He knows he's not smart enough to get into the castle by himself. He knows that he's not a planner. He knows that he needs Vicini. No, not Vicini. I need the man in black. As I said in that previous video, these 2 characters have a connection which is undeniable. Inigo instinctively trusts Wesley and has good reason to, given that he is alive, which speaks to Wesley's ability to be merciful. And we already know about Inigo's heartbreak because of that setup on the Cliffs of Insanity earlier. Honourable men, I said. And that honour, that kinship, is what sparks this decision. Conveniently, Wesley is in the area and not dead, though he is dying, and he does die before they get to him. But when you have a miracle man and also a sword or the spirit of your father or similar that wants you to succeed, that's a significant inconvenience, but not an insurmountable problem. So, with Wesley resurrected, a wheelbarrow and a Holocaust cloak, that's Holocaust with a small h, like consumed by fire. We're still pretending, after all, that this is a translation of a novel that was written before World War II. They successfully break into the castle where Buttercup has not actually been legally married, but seems to think that she has. The arc of the fight begins here, with our first surprise. After Inigo quickly dispatches the 4 guards, Rugen is prepared to fight until we get that iconic line.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
At which point Rugen runs away. And so instead of the sword fighting starting here, we have to chase Rugen down. And Fezzik has to be called in to help, and the humour of Wesley being mostly incapacitated is balanced by this dreadful sort of comic desperation. And then we cut away. Buttercup is planning to kill herself. Fezzik is confused. Inigo is running, still running, we ramp up the suspense, and then, oof, shock, pain. Anticlimax. Is your heart breaking right now? Because mine always does a little bit. In the movie, the little boy asks the grandfather who gets Humperdinck, and the grandfather says no one gets him. He lives. We've already heard that. Might we have come all this way for nothing? Could Rugen survive too? Is one of our major characters going to die? No, because this is not that kind of movie. Instead, Rugen, who is a sadist, stops to monologue.
I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. How marvelous.
Ooh, terrible idea, because this is not an entertainment fight. This is not about flash or style or fun. This is as deadly serious as we get in this film. This is the arc of one of the major characters reaching its conclusion with the death of the man that he has been hunting for 20 years. This is not a connection fight. This is the final reckoning. It can't end here, right? Because Inigo loved his father. This is his true love fight. And so after a brief cutaway to Buttercup and Wesley, just to reassure us that those 2 kids are going to be okay because we really need to focus right now, Inigo gets up. And now we begin in earnest. Nearly everything that we know about Inigo and his fighting style to this point is gone. The flash, the fluidity of movement, the joy, all of it. The only things that are left are skill and determination. He is leaning against a wall with his fist stuck into a knife wound. He is dying. And yet, he deflects the 2 killing blows into mere flesh wounds which he doesn't even react to. One to the left shoulder, one to the right arm. He pushes himself off the wall and stands unaided, and then he falls. Rugen seizes his chance, but no, all the blows are parried, and Inigo stands again, and this time he sounds stronger. And then he actually starts to fight back. Kind of. I talked in the Cliffs of Insanity fight about how one of the ways we achieve interest in long fights is by dialing the complexity up or down, or the intensity up or down. With complexity, you can change the complexity of the moves themselves, or you can change the complexity of the environment. And a good modern example of this is the Jack versus Will fight in Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl, which conveniently I also have a video about. In this fight, we don't vary the intensity up and down while trending upwards. We just ramp it up from nearly dead shuffling forward to proper fencing stance for that final blow. Inigo's desperate. He's in agony, but instead of having the fight wear him down, he gets stronger as it progresses. His energy increases as he gets closer to the vengeance he has trained for 2 decades. It's more typical to go the other way, where the fighters get more tired as they go on. See, for example, Rob Roy, or maybe the hallway fight in Daredevil Season 1. But his strength increasing as we go along is one of the things that we do completely backwards in this fight, and I love it. And that's not the only thing that's the wrong way around. Note at this point that Rugen is sensibly wary, though perhaps not wary enough. He runs away, he throws the knife to kill from afar, and even when he tries to strike these killing blows, it's stab and recover, overhead cut and recover. He keeps his distance, and when Inigo stands, Rugen retreats. And then Rugen keeps retreating, and this is the second thing, which is the wrong way round, that makes the fight so powerful. Not only is Inigo getting less tired as we go on, but the character who is attacking is also the one who is retreating. Normally, you passing step forward, or advance, or at least lean somewhat in the direction of your opponent when you're attacking. You don't have to, but it's more usual, shall we say. Especially in stage combat in media, you want it to be clear who's attacking and who's defending, and so generally speaking, you've got to go forward while you're attacking and go backward while you're defending. This fight is completely on its head. The uninjured man, the one who's making all the attacks, well, up to a point, but we'll get there, is the one retreating, and the gravely injured man just walks forward and forward. He's not even in a fencing stance, he's just walking forward and parrying anything that comes his way, but all he wants is to be closer to the man who killed his father. He doesn't attack. Not yet. Now, this is a pretty short fight compared to the Cliffs of Insanity. Most fights are pretty short fights compared to the Cliffs of Insanity. So we keep on with this pattern until...
Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. stop saying that!
It's at this point that anger finally overcomes fear and Rugen stops retreating. But until this point, it's just been Inigo walking, Inigo parrying, Rugen attacking but retreating. And it looks strange and slightly wrong and counterintuitive, and I love it. At this point though, Inigo has found the strength to attack. And attack he does. At this point, Inigo could just kill him. But instead we start by giving Rugen the echoes of Inigo's own most recent injuries. One left, one right. And then he advances. And then that callback to the 2 facial scars that he was given. And then the fencing stance. And then the end. Inigo pays back each of the lesser injuries bestowed on him, which closes the circle for us. You'll note, though, that he doesn't pay back the knife wound, both because it was dishonourable in the first place, and also because it might be fatal. The killing blow, however, must be the echo of the killing blow that took Domingo Montoya from him.
I want my father back, you son of a...
This fight is wonderful. I mean, emotionally speaking, it's just kind of pain, but, you know, in a cathartic kind of way. Mandy Patinkin talks about delivering his line as if it were to the cancer that killed his father, and it's just, ow, my feelings. My feelings. It is perhaps for this reason that Prince Humperdinck survives. I mean, yes, he's a terrible, awful person, but it's not necessary to kill him at this point. And Count Rugen's death is so powerful and so meaningful that at this point there's nothing left to do but ride off into the night. Humperdinck is a loose end, but you can't top this moment, and so they don't even try. Another reason that I prefer the movie to the book, incidentally, is that the movie lets them have this moment, this happy ending, whereas the book is like, yeah, that's not gonna last, is it? And I'm a sucker for a happy ending. Not sorry. Merry Christmas, and I will see you next time.